Hey, everybody. So, first and foremost, thank you yesterday for coming out for the live event. That was actually a lot of fun. I'll get better at learning how to use the chat as well. But overall, I just had an absolute blast with it, and I really appreciate everybody in the turnout. And I like doing the top buys for the week that way. I think it's very informative and shows everybody what to look at. That said, we started a new series, or I started a new series last week called Squeeze the Shorts, which is essentially going through the highest short positions that are out there that look like they have the most potential. So we did 16 last week. This week we're going to do 10, and I just want to review some on last week that worked and why you might want to start incorporating this into a scan or watch list. So first, last week, this one, and we're just going to go through these very quickly. SWAV, that was a big winner on the week. We were up 20% on that one, 19.6%. From that short squeeze data. And here's all the short squeeze data that you're going to see in the new top 10 that we're going to go over. NIO is also on the list from where we were talking about it. That from Monday. And what I'm using here is the open to the close, Monday through Friday. You're up about 14.75%. I'm not using the close from Friday because you couldn't have gotten in there. You have to go off the open. And TMDX had a nice little turnaround there, up 7.5%. And CLPT, and that's the thing about these. You don't know which ones are going to work. So that's why you have to put them in a watch list and you have to constantly go over them and look for signs. So these were the top four out of that group to me that really outperformed, double digit returns in a week. I'll take that all day long. So what we're going to do now is just go over, let me just go find the highest short list. And now we're just going to go through the highest short list. And this is just in alphabetical order. It has nothing to do with the short interest position or ranking system whatsoever. But we're going to go through these fairly quickly. So the first one is ASO. I'm not really sure what the shorts are seeing in this besides the stock consistently hitting a new high every day. Maybe someone on Twitter or Reddit can explain it to me. But this is pretty insane to me. I have days to cover at 7.1%. I have a short percent float of over 42%, and they're increasing their short position as it goes up. So let's just look at this one on the weekly for a moment. I don't know what they're seeing that makes them want to short, but maybe there's something out there that I'm missing. This stock hit an all-time high. I'm going to be really clear here. This one's already, in my opinion, triggered, and I'm going to show you the trigger, and we're going to leave the zoom in right here. I just want to point this out. This one, in my opinion, triggered on Friday. So from here on, I actually think this is actionable now and something that I'm definitely going to be looking at Monday morning and seeing how it opens. So what I'm going to be looking for, frankly, I'm just going to get right into it. I want to see it get above that 32.5. And then I really think that this could move pretty fast. I mean, I don't know how long people are going to stay short something that consistently is, going to break out and hit new highs. But above 32.5, 33.75 should be a magnet. And, I'm not saying you're going to get there in a week, but if you look at what's going on here, right, I mean, you should be able to get at least to this level up here, 36, fairly quickly. It's a 20% move. So I would definitely put this on your watch list. And this one to me is actionable. I really like the action in it. And also, I'm going to leave the RSI down here because I'm trying to also educate on how and when to use these tools. And there's an RSI video, and I'll link that at the end of this on how to use it and the right way to use it and the wrong way to use it. You really need to understand it because it's one of the only leading indicators out there. So Blink is another one that I like. You're looking at a short interest increase. There's not a ton of days to cover, but what we're seeing is we're just seeing that the stock just is constantly bouncing off that bottom and turning. Now, if you look at this, just to get an understanding of what's going on here, okay, you have this upward trend, and now let's watch this. Now we clone this line, okay? You always clone them. You don't draw new ones, you clone them because that shows you the trajectory of the channel. And you need that trajectory to have a true channel. You see how that just fit right in there perfectly? I didn't know that was going to happen, but 9 times out of 10 it does. So you see the channel that we're in? Look how close this 21 is getting and this 50 is getting. We tried to rally here, but we couldn't do it. Well, why didn't it work this time? Well, because we were at the top of the channel and we weren't really ready to break. Okay, so And you can see how it reversed here, and that was your signal to get out. But see how you're reversing on the bottom of the channel? See what last time it reversed on the bottom of the channel, how we did? We came to the top of it. So if we can reverse here, get over this 21 and 50, we can go to the top of this channel, which puts us at $49. Now, if we can get to $49, and again, I'm not saying these are going to happen in a week like the other ones, and I'm certainly not saying you're going to make 46%, but there's a 40% move here, even getting through and waiting till you get through the 21 and 50. And then you could just use those as your stop. The other thing I want to point out that's very important here is the RSI is starting to turn up. Okay, stock's not moving that much yet, but the RSI is starting to turn up. That tells you the magnitude of the move is changing. So this would be another one I would definitely put on your list. I really like that idea. So Clove, we had a lot of mixed data on, right? Or what's the short position? What's the float position? I'm going to go out there and just be blunt. I know it's important, but we're getting caught up in the minutia. What we need to understand about Clove is very simple. You had a huge breakout bar on this amount of volume. You had follow through that did not work, and you have that evening star pattern that people will remember from the candlesticks, right? Then we broke below the 50-day, and that's okay. That's cool. It's not the end of the world. This 908 level, we talked about this level, and we knew that it was a problem. And we've been talking about that level for over a week, and you can't get above that. Where's your swing trade? 908. We have to close above that 908, which gets us back above the 50. And then from there, that could take us to this $10, $11 200 day. Now, this volume's not going away. And even if the news that came out about the float position is wrong, one thing's not wrong. We have not taken out the low of this bar. So essentially, the people that have been short all in here and the people that are short all in here are all down on that position. And I have a 21 day that's going flat. That's what we know. So we have to control and use what we know, not what we don't know, right? So when we see this start to happen, it becomes very interesting. And look how tight this RSI is getting, right? So to me, this is not over. This is just beginning. And I would look at a close above the 21, or I'm sorry, above the 50 and the 908 level, and that would be my trigger. And again, I want to preface all these. I'm not interested in the companies and what they do. I'm not saying they're long-term holds. I'm saying they're trades. And I just want to point out a couple things here. It's really important to start understanding when to use certain indicators and why they're relevant. And I'm going to show that in this one. So the short interest that you're out there, you're 3.5 days to cover, but look at what's going on here. They're covering, right? They're covering and they're down, and we're still not really moving. We're just kind of bouncing around. So there's a lot of work here that might still have to be done, but maybe not. I'm going to show you why. So right here, let me just put this in right here. Okay. So, right, this is one of the things I'll say about RSI. This is one of the reasons why you don't care if it goes to 30. It's not an automatic trigger. You can see why it can always go lower. Things can always go lower than you think. But what you see here, this huge sell down bar, right? We got harangued, and then all of a sudden now you're floating and you're going sideways. But what's the RSI doing? Trying to hit a new high, took out this, trying to hit a new high. See how the stock is lower here than it is here, but the RSI is higher? Okay, that's a positive divergence. We're actually higher on the RSI from this line to this line. Okay, another positive divergence. So what's really our trigger here? My trigger for this is very simple. I want to close above the 21 day on this. That's what I'm looking for. And again, I'm looking at trades here. I'm not saying to invest in the company. I'm not saying it's the best company in the world. We're looking at short positions and how these people are going to have to cover. So you're looking at 30.92, call it 31 as your, that's really your pivot point on that one. Icpt, and let me just close this down for a moment. So Icpt, and you can just see something very similar here, but let's get into this. So you have a 4% short increase. Okay, the float's pretty decent, but look at these days to cover because of how thin the stock is. So you have 7 days to cover here. So if somebody really gets trapped in here, and this does have a spike to it, and again, you need to put these in a watch list and just watch the action of them, they're going to have a real issue. And if this RSI can break above this, you're going to have a problem. Okay, they're going to have a real problem if this gets back above this level. So I understand that we're basing here and this doesn't look like much is going on, but the one thing I will say is if you drill into this, okay, you should be able to see how you are forming an M bottom, right? And I don't know if people are familiar with the M bottom, but and how they trade, but that means essentially is that you are forming an M, okay? When you form an M and then you break out of the M, it's pretty powerful. So we're not there yet, but we could get there, and we could get there fairly fast. The first signs that you're going to want to see is above the 21 and the 50, and get above this level, this 24.89. I know people don't want to wait that long for that 3 points, but get above to that 24.89, and then I think you have a clear shot to at least this 29. I don't see any reason why you're not going to go to the top of this breakdown bar. I just really don't. The other thing that this has going for it and why I like this Icpt, see this volume spike? And let me just show you a couple things here because this is kind of important. And you know what? We're just going to put that down here for now. So see this volume spike right here? This is very important to learn. Okay. So when you have a volume spike like that, okay, what you're looking for, and you can go out and you can see that you don't even have one of these until like a year later. And I don't even think that, so you can see where I'm going with this, right? Hold on. So you don't really have anything that's that high until you get out to here. So what that really does for us, and let me pop this back in. What that really does for us is tell us that this may be exhausted, that the selling on Icpt may be exhausted. When you spike like this on volume, it's everybody just throwing in the hat or shorting the stock. Okay. And that could be the reason, I don't know for a fact, but that could be the reason why we have 7 days to cover, because people are shorting the hell out of it here. Excuse my language, but sometimes I curse. So what you really want to see too is look at where I'm at when I'm here on the RSI, right? Look where I'm here on the RSI. Stock's at the same spot. And look what the RSI has done. So that's a positive divergence. So breaking this is really what we're looking for. But get above that 21, get above that 50, and you should be really considering that move. LCI is a little stock that actually had a decent move, but I just want to get into this because this was fascinating to me. It's like these people don't learn, and you have to just take advantage of that. I don't know the company. I don't want to get into the fundamentals of it. But when you have 14 days, 13.6 days to cover, okay, that means you have 3 full weeks essentially of trading where these people can't get out of the stock fully. Okay, I don't know why somebody would ever think that that's a great position to put themselves in. But I can assure you it's not. So, we saw what happens with this. We saw what happens with GameStop and AMC, and, they just keep doing it. So when this moves, and I do feel that this is setting up, and I'm going to get into why, but 13.6, okay, and just look at what's going on here, okay? See how we're just bouncing around here? So in other words, we hit here, took out a new low, and this didn't move. That tells you the magnitude of the move is changing. This is going to be a much smaller name to trade. So you're going to try and get in this as soon as possible, right? Now your stop on this is going to be that low, which is going to be that 455 level. But when you close above the 21 day, which you have not done for over a month, when you close above the 21 day, your 50 day is going to be a magnet. There's really very little resistance in here. Okay. So that's going to take us about to the $6 level. So what you're going to watch is you're going to watch this level here, and just going to give it to you. Let me expand these out and give it to you. So we have it exactly what it is. 519. So you're looking for 520, and I think that gives us a 80-cent move on the stock, which is like a 12% move. It's definitely worth looking at. I know it's a smaller name, but if this starts to turn and curl the way that I think, that's going to just be the beginning of this. Then you're going to challenge the 200-day, and you can see what happens when the squeeze starts. You can get in this, and the goal with these is not to be buying them here, but to be buying them when they're setting up. And let me give you an example. You see how this started curling up? This RSI was curling up and having a positive divergence here. Look at that period of time and compare it to what's going on now. It's very similar. So just put this on your radar. I think it's something that you need to take a look at. The next is OTRK, and let me just get into this one. So I like this one, and I'm gonna walk through why I think this has massive potential. But look at this, 42% short, 3.3 days to cover. And the difference between days to cover and percentage of float, just so you understand, has to do with the average daily volume. If the stock trades more average daily volume, the short interest ratio on days to cover obviously is going to be less. That's the differentiation, and that's why it's important to understand that. But when you're short this much, I just, again, if I was a short person, if I want to be on the short side, I just don't know what you're thinking. But let's just walk through what's going on here. Everybody should be able to understand this RSI positive divergence, right? You can see that you've hit here, boom, boom, and now you're starting to curl. But let's get rid of all this for a minute, and then we're going to come back to it. Okay, you're setting up to break this downward trend wedge. And when you start breaking these wedges, your first target on these wedges is always the top of the wedge. Okay, so that puts us up here at roughly $40 from 32. Now overlay that, and let's put these indicators back in. Okay, so now I'm above here. I want to get above this wedge, and then that should take me to here, which is right where the 50-day is. Now, if you get through this, this gets really interesting. You can have a gap fill all the way up to here. And obviously this is going to take a lot longer, but you could gap fill to $56 and you'd still be in a downtrend, right? Because of where the 200 is. It'd be nothing to do this. And one of the key things that you should be understanding about this is, and this is why, you understand where your moving averages are and things like that. The fact that you are 73% away from your 200-day moving average tells you that you're due for a bounce. That's way, way off where you should be. And I'm not saying it's going to run up there right away because of that, but that's a clear indication that you've gone down too far, too fast on this news. It's just very clear. And everybody, and you can see here, like, look, everybody puked it out right around 33, right? And then you came down to 24. Is that where we're at? 24. So you could see how this is kind of setting up. We reversed, we took that out, we tried to rally. This is setting up again. First time usually does not work when you rally. It's usually the second time. So keep that in mind, but I would definitely put this one on your radar with the rest of them. Root, look, you have a 41.6% short interest, and they're decreasing the short interest right now, okay, which lets you know that they're starting to understand that they're not in the right position. You have a formal double bottom here, where, let me just walk you through this so you can understand this difference between the double bottoms. So you have a formal double bottom here where you've undercut here and now you're above this. So a true double bottom is when you undercut and then pop back over. And that's exactly what you've done. Now, if you overlay that with this, okay, here's your trend line. And I would strongly recommend that if you're not familiar with RSI, watch that video. You'll find value in it. So what you can see here is you can see that you could get right to this level. You could get to 11 3/4 just on accident. So you can actually even use a higher high here. And if you don't want to use that, you could just wait till it gets through the 21-day. If it gets through the 21-day, I think you're going to get through the 50 this time fairly quickly. So I would watch this and put it on your list. When you start turning, your RSI starts turning like this off the bottom, it's usually a pretty clear indication that you're getting ready for some kind of move. The magnitude of that move, we don't know. But this is also very interesting, right? Not only are you breaking this trend line, but notice from here to here, the same distance, the magnitude of the move is becoming positive. So definitely look at this and wait for the 21 if you want to. Again, I'm not making statements about the validity or fundamentals of the company, simply about trading. So the percentage of float on this is 30% that's short. You're seeing them start to decrease their position on shorts, which is really what you want to see because it means you have buyers, and you're 4.6 days out on your short interest ratio. So let's just walk through this and what's going on here. Finally, we're starting to close above the 21-day, and the 200-day and the 50 are right up here. So if you can get above, and I would wait for this one because of how much you've consolidated in here, I think it does. If you can get above the 200-day and the 50-day here, okay, it roughly puts you at an $11 target. So you're really looking at roughly, let's call it 11.10, okay? So you really let the other 50 cents go, but look for that 11.10 because then you're above this base. You're closing above the 200, above the 50. People are not going to stay short something that starts to do that. Their protocols aren't going to let them. Their process is not going to let them. So you have 212.20, which would be your first level, and then you're just going to start moving up 13, 14 and 3/4, right? 16, you can see how that would work, right? And again, you can just see how we're just trending here, and we stop going down, and now we have buyers coming in because the short interest is starting to decrease. So that would be another one I would take a look at. TRIT, and then we'll just, this is the 9th one, then we'll just do the 10th. So you can see the short interest is decreasing. The short days out there are 2.5, and we're at 32%. What I like here is you are finally constantly staying above both of these moving averages. Now, all you're really looking for is you have an enormous base here, right? That actually goes all the way back to here. But as these lines turn, this becomes more and more interesting. So really, all you're looking for here is a close above that 8, let's call it 810. This is really 803, but we'll call it 810. Close above 810, and then these lines are going to start turning up. When they start turning up, you're going to start seeing more and more people come into it. And there's really no reason that once you start getting above these levels, like 860, that you're not going to the top of this red candle, which would put you at roughly 1080. So I like this idea. You know, these last two are smaller, but you can see how this angle is changing, right? So let's just go through that. So maybe you can't see it, but see that? See how our trend's changing? Right from where it was before. See how much tighter this is getting? We're getting in that wedge, what I call a kill zone, right in here. It's got to do something, and this is telling you what it's going to do. It's telling you that eventually it's going to break out, and that's what's going on here. Tighter and tighter is what you want to see. So again, finally we're going to do workhorse, and you know, I'm not getting into the company, whether or not they're getting the contract and all that, but you have the stock is being increased in its short position, and this is what you want to see. You're seeing an increase in short position, and we're not going down. So that tells you that the selling is exhausted from the buyers, period, right? Because if you're selling, someone's got to be on the other side to pick up the demand, or the stock goes down. I mean, that's not rocket science. So here, look at this 1189 level, okay? Now, here's 1189 right here. Here's 1189 right here. What do we have? We have a positive divergence, and that's why I pointed this one out. And take a look at this. So now let's blow this up. Actually, let me put this here so you can remember which it is. And let's really get in here. So what you're seeing is, you see how you can't get above that 21 day? So where are you going to really want your position to be? You're going to want to be above the 21 day and the first wick. Why also above the first wick? Because as people that watch that candlestick video, wicks are price rejection. Show me that you're not being rejected anymore, and I have an interest. Okay, so that puts us roughly at 13.5 from where you're at. You have to give up that first dollar. Once you're above that wick, and this is going to be absolutely nothing. This one. So you're going to really start looking up here. You're looking at 15 to go to. And then from there, really, you're going to start heading to the 50-day. I think this has a lot of potential, and I would put these on your list. So the way to do this is mark the key levels, put them in a watch list, watch them and follow along. But I think some of these are really actionable. The number one idea that I really am all over is this ASO. I don't get it. I really don't understand how you're increasing a short position that's breaking a wedge and rallying, and you have massive upward momentum possibilities here. So this is the number one that I'm looking at. But as the ones last week, we don't know which ones are going to look at. So that's why we have to constantly look at them every day, at least every day. I look at them a lot more, but people work. So you have to look at them at least every day for 5-10 minutes to see which one is working. So that's it in a nutshell. Message me with any questions and comments. I love to hear which ones you guys are more interested in. Which ones you think will work. And as always, what we go over is extremely timely, so please consider subscribing to the channel and turning on all notifications. Also, because we're going to start doing a lot more live videos, and I think that lets you know. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Sunday.